title of this video is Godfrey Elfwick Exposed. Welcome to the Shikama Live Show with your host, Shikama. If you don't know who Godfrey Elfwick is, A, you're not into politics. B, you don't know what the internet is. The two go hand in hand. If you do not know Godfrey Elfwick, you cannot be into politics and not know Godfrey Elfwick. Please like the video and subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 in this quarter. We're trying to get to 100,000 in this quarter. I'm sitting here in a room that is completely hot. The air conditioner has gone off. I've turned off all the air. But the air conditioner itself has gone out. So, it's the trials and tribulations of living the American dream. In November 2016, The Guardian published a comment piece in which the anonymous writer described how he was radicalized into the alt-right. I want everybody listening to this to know that everything that I am about to say is all a joke. Every single word of it is a joke. None of it is true. Absolutely nothing that's going to come out of my mouth is true in any sense of the word. Not only is it not true, but it's a joke within a joke, wrapped in a joke, inside of a joke box. So, if you get offended, you are not using your brain because you have been warned. Everything in this is a joke. The fact that it is on a higher level, that it is an intellectual joke, that is your problem if you don't understand that it's a joke. Just like Godfrey Elfwick would have intended. It started when he watched a few ostensibly harmless videos by the American liberal Sam Harris. From there, he graduated to material of anti-SJW, social justice warrior, and anti-feminist disposition, before eventually becoming a fan of the dreaded Milo Yiannopoulos. As the writer dramatically put it, the indoctrination was complete. Soon after, a well-known Twitter troll called Godfrey Elfwick claimed to be the author, it made complete sense, even though it wasn't true. Elfwick was a brilliant caricature of the excess of the liberal left. He, or rather Z, identified as genderqueer Muslim atheist, who was born white into the #wrong skin. His trans-black status began as a satire of Rachel Dolezal, the U.S. civil rights activist who was born to white parents who identifies as black. Quote, I have light skin, he tweeted, yet I know in my heart I am black and act accordingly. Elfwick's #wrong skin hashtag soon began to trend worldwide on Twitter, following many in the process. Even the Mirror and the BBC, who are British newspapers, published articles which did not rule out the possibility that the campaign might be authentic. Similarly, Elfwick's claim to have panned the Guardian comment piece was effective precisely because it was so feasible. The satire was double-edged. On the one hand, Elfwick had accentuated the inherent absurdities of the articles in question, exposing the self-parodic nature of The Guardian, which is a British newspaper. On the other hand, he had successfully duped public figures such as Sam Harris, Majid Nawaz, and leading Gamergator Ethan Ralph, all of whom had been so quick to take his tweets as face value. The hoax claim was in itself a hoax. Elfwick's brand of satire depends on this kind of ambiguity. those who took his posts seriously were inadvertently enhancing the impact of the joke, especially when they expressed such boiling outrage. It is no coincidence that objection to Elfwick tend to come from po-faced peddlers of identity politics who are unhappy about being ridiculed. The same goes for the ideologues of Twitter who have an established record of deleting accounts for political reasons and have now permanently banned Elfwick from their platform. That's right. Twitter banned Elfwick off of Twitter because they thought his tweets were all serious tweets, when in fact they're parodies of themselves. So Twitter becomes the butt of the joke by deleting the Elfwick account. It's a comedian saying how ridiculous Twitter is for taking comedy seriously. Twitter takes it seriously and deletes his account. He's actually an established author. He has a job. He has an actual real live job. And his job is to make parody articles of the left. That's the whole point of it. And the idea that Twitter took him so seriously that they deleted him is a joke all by itself. They didn't delete him. They made him more powerful than he ever was. Now people go and seek out his articles because Twitter deleted his account. The circumstances are complicated. Lisa Graves, the satirist behind the most recent incarnation of Elfwick, yes, Lisa Graves is a woman's name, was reported to Twitter for using an expletive during an exchange on her personal account with another user. The complainant additionally made the demonstrably false claim that Elfwick was an alt-right account engaged in targeted harassment. So here's the lie. The left guy complained that Elfwick was alt-right, when in fact everything that is on the Elfwick account is all left. Everything that Elfwick says is all left. It is stuff that the left says, not the right. So then the guy lies about Elfwick, thinking Elfwick is a man, first of all, when in fact Elfwick is a woman. And then Twitter takes the guy's lies and runs with it, obviously not even deeming to even look at the Elfwick account. Before long, all of Graves' account had been subject to a blanket ban. Given Twitter's curiously draconian response to such groundless accusation, it is hardly surprising that many are assuming that the punishment is politically motivated. Internet trolling can often amount to little more than unsophisticated mudslinging, but when executed well, it has the potential to reach great satirical heights. The whole idea of satire is to poke fun at somebody so much that they fall into the very trap of what you're satirizing. That's the idea of it. It is some sophisticated joking around, right? And you cannot win when you then address the person who's satirizing you. Because when you address the person who's satirizing you, more than likely the satire is you. That you are the person who is in fact the clown in this situation. And the reason that they're making satire of you is because you're a ridiculous person. Or, in this case, a ridiculous company. Twitter is the ridiculous company. Twitter got offended for somebody who is actually lying about the person making the satire. So now Twitter permanently has a black mark on their reputation, and they cannot get rid of it because the guy is still banned or the woman is still banned. You see how crazy this is? It's a woman pretending to be a guy, pretending to be a Democrat. He could find a way to be offended by anything. On the release of the film 12 Year a Slave, for example, Elfwick took exception. Quote, typical of Hollywood to cast a black actor in the stereotypical role as a slave, he wrote. Why not 12 years a bank manager? Which is satire mixed into reality, mixed into truth, mixed into this is what a Democrat would pretend to say. And when I say pretend to say, is because Democrats don't actually say this. For the crime of deflating the presentations of leftist identitarians, Elfwick has repeatedly been dismissed as right-wing or alt-right. But, as Graves puts it, Godfrey was a way of poking fun at the extremes of both ends of the political spectrum. The account mocked the liberal left, by aping their faux outrage and self-defeating arguments. It's 2018 and women should be free to do whatever feminists say they can do, but was equally adept at needling right-wingers who took such statements literally and responded with hilarious indignation. So the satire is double-edged. When she's pretending to be the man, pretending to be a Democrat, when she makes statements that a real Democrat would actually say, the Democrats would respond with outrage because they pretend that they wouldn't say that. And then the right-wingers who don't read Godfrey Elfwick thinks it's actually a real, actual leftist talking like that because it sounds like something a leftist would actually say. It's funny because then the right-wing person is getting mad at this pretend fake person who's not actually a Democrat. It was inevitable that Elfwick would provoke widespread offense given his choice of subject matter. For some, the image of him on a woman's march in a full burqa and in pink hat was a step too far. Others were uncomfortable with his take on trans issues. Quote, I've been secretly putting hormone blockers in my nephew's Lunchables for the past few months. She'll thank me for it in a few years. You mark my words. It's all fake. It's all a joke. He doesn't have a niece. Many Twitter, and it's not a person. It's a fake person. The fake person doesn't have a fake niece. Keep that in mind. Many Twitter users took issue with his comments on the recent rescue of boys from a flooded cave in Thailand. Quote, 2 British white males at the head of this rescue mission. Their privilege is staggering. Ability counts for blank when there's zero diversity. I demand they be replaced with 2 differently abled transgender people of mixed race to offer those children a more empowering experience. End quote. That so many were gulled into believing such self-evidently ludicrous pronouncements points to the degradation of political discourse on the internet which Elfwick sought to deride. Those who were incensed by Elfwick's jibes at offense culture only served to highlight the necessity of his existence. It's the same kind of liberal-minded reaction that saw satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo lambasted for racism when it depicted Justice Minister Christian Taubira as a monkey, even though the target was quite clearly racist nationalists who resorted to such vile comparisons. So, just for the record, so you understand, the cartoon magazine was making fun of racists, right? How did they do that? They made a French politician into a monkey. It's not that the cartoonists were saying that the politician is a monkey. They were making fun of racists who would do such a thing. It's wheels within wheels within wheels, so you understand the joke. But if you don't understand, but if you're not of any intelligence, you're not going to get the joke, because you got to go 2 steps to understand the joke at the first step, right? Quote, satire is angry and optimistic, wrote W.H. Auden. It believes that once people's attention is drawn to some evil, they will mend their ways. The popularity of Godfrey Elfwick points to a growing frustration with the contemporary woke politics and the need to counter these regressive trends. As Lisa Graves has said of the current climate, it stifles us and creates division. Elfwick's pomposity hit exactly the right note, because where there is no impulse to question one's own certainties, there can be no possibility of dialogue. In a sense, then, his self-importance was entirely justified. I'm reminded of a quotation attributed to Elfwick himself that was formerly emblazoned on the head of the Twitter page. Imagine, if you will, a lion with the heart of a bear and the strength of 10 lions. You just imagine Godfrey Elfwick. And this was written by an actual stand-up comedian, Andrew Doyle, who is writing for Spiked Online. Thank you for listening and to me, and I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope you'll thumbs up the video, and rest in peace. Actually, not rest in peace, because he's still writing articles. He's still an actual, or the lady is still writing. Godfrey Elfwick writing articles in actual news magazines. They wanted me to pay to read his stuff, and I said no. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.